University Center in the Side Street Grill for this edition of the Eagles Sports Coaches Show. We'll have talk a little bit about rifle later on in the show, cross country, and of course we'll end the hour with football. But right now, we'll talk with Jamie Gordon, volleyball coach at Morehead State. The Eagles keep on winning, 11-0 now, 16-5 overall. Pretty good weekend, Coach.
Yeah, a great weekend for us. We had a couple of big fights at Murray State and Southeast Missouri, two very good teams that are playing stronger as each week progresses, difficult gyms and environments to play in. So we were real pleased to get out of there with a couple of wins.
Discuss Murray a little bit. You sweep them 25-23, 25-23, and 25-22. As you mentioned, Racer Arena is a smaller arena in the Ohio Valley Conference. What was the difference in that match?
We fought hard. Actually, Murray State was up in all three of the sets late in the match, and I think our players showed a lot of composure. And a lot of grit to pull it out. It was their homecoming weekend. They had a reunion, volleyball reunion going on, so they had a great crowd, very loud, and it was a battle, and we were fortunate enough to really squeak it out there at the end.
Now, you didn't tell everybody that you were taking your secret weapon on the road trip. Dean of Students, Kevin Kett, went with you, and he was. We were trying to keep up with him on the tweets.
Yeah, we wanted to try and bring as much of the home court advantage along with us. So we had him, and he definitely was loud and really was a lot of fun to have him on the road.
Kevin Loud, are you sure?
He definitely matched what Murray State fans were about. He was all about showing them what the real MSU was about.
You go down to Cape Girardeau the next day and you win 3-1. It's kind of been one of these seasons that losing a set kind of shocks some people, but it's SEMO pretty good and pretty tough place to play.
Yeah, they've got a great team. They've got a very strong middle in Emily Kuhn. Their setter does a very nice job, Julia Shives, and they were ready to go. I think we kind of traded punch for punch, and then finally. Really were able to pick up our execution and get a solid fourth set win and get out of there with a W.
We were talking about it last week, the fact that this is a crucial stretch for your team because the fact that you played a lot of your games at home early on. Now you're hitting the middle part of the season and you're going on the road. I mean, getting 2 out of the first 4 games of the road trip under your belt and coming away with wins, pretty big.
Yeah, it's important to start it off well and get those 2 wins, but now we've got to go back on the road. We head out Thursday to play Tennessee Martin on Friday, and we've got to protect those wins. And UT Martin is going to be a very difficult one. They're number 2 right now in the conference. They've got a lot of fan support there as well, so for a Friday night match, that kind of number 1 versus number 2, we expect a real electric environment.
As we mentioned, UT Martin on Friday night, then Austin P on later on next week. Mm-hmm. So only one match this weekend.
Right. One match on Friday, then we'll come home, get things going, change gears, and prepare for the Govs of Austin P.
Of course, as you mentioned, Morehead State is number 1 in the Ohio Valley Conference, 11-0 on the season. UT Martin is 8-3, Tennessee State 8-4, and SEMO is 7-4. And overall, you lead the league with 16 wins, 16-5 after 21 dates. I guess anytime you can have a record like that, especially in the league, you have to be happy with the progression of your team thus far.
We are. And one of the things that I think our team does a great job of doing, especially with the leadership that they have, is to stay focused on the process, on how we're getting those wins. If you look and you say, oh, hey, we're 11-0 or we're 16-5, and you lose kind of focus on what's gotten you there, that's when you're going to trip up. And I think our team does a nice job of saying, hey, these are the things that we've got to do. We've got to be strong in our fundamentals. We've got to take each opportunity to get better. And, the wins and losses, they'll work themselves out. That'll just be a result of our process.
In the Ohio Valley Conference, a lot of people know that if you win the regular season in volleyball, you get a chance to host the tournament. And as we know that playing in Weatherby would be a great plus heading into the postseason.
Yeah, it is. And really we kind of look at that, we want to be able to win the OVC tournament title. Obviously that's the automatic qualifier into the NCAA tournament. And so it's within stages. Our first goal is to qualify for the tournament. I think one or two more wins, and that'll get us into that group of 6. Then the next step is to try and be in either 1 or 2 so that you can get that bye. And then ideally, if you can host, it's definitely an advantage, and we're going to try and work really hard for that opportunity.
I know as we talked about last week, you had some kids doing very well in the national rankings, a team doing very well in the national rankings, and that just shows the type of player that you have at Morehead State, and the fact that probably ask the young ladies, they probably don't care about their individual things. The one thing that counts is the team.
It is, and I think that's why we've had our success of being 11-0. We've had different people that have stepped up at different times. Ellie Robertson has had some big matches, and then if she stumbles a little bit, Erin Bohannon has been big. We've had great performances out of the middle from Emma Keogh and Laura McDermott, and now having Annie Grunschlager back. She's had some big matches, actually leading our conference in hitting efficiency, and then having some people coming off the bench. This past weekend it was huge. We had Alex Filling step in and give us some really key swings against Murray State and against Southeast Missouri, and have somebody that's coming off the bench cold and give you that lift is big. So it's been a full team effort relative to just focusing on and relying on one person's performance.
We talk about the other teams in the league. As we are over halfway through, what teams have impressed you? What maybe a team that wasn't on the radar at the beginning of the season, maybe on the radar now?
I think really, if you look at the top of the conference right now, Tennessee Martin wasn't picked very high. Southeast Missouri wasn't picked very high. And you even see with Eastern Kentucky, all 3 of those teams have a lot of youth. And so you're seeing now as the season's progressing, they're gaining that experience. They're getting better. You also have new coaches in positions, and teams are starting to learn their systems better. So, you're seeing that progress, and what we've got to make sure that we do is that we continue our progress to stay ahead of that curve.
Now, as we talked about what you were impressed with thus far from your team, what do you need to work on, you think, as we head down the stretch?
I think we've got to maintain our consistency, or actually improve our consistency. And while I've said it's been nice, we've had different players that have stepped up at different times. That also means, though, that we've had players that haven't had good quality matches all the time. And so I think if we can keep that consistency going, we're going to be a challenging team to beat.
Next home match for the volleyball team will be Eastern Illinois on October 28th, and of course then on October 29th, SIU Edwardsville will come to town for a 2:00 match. And it's always going to be good to get home, but you got 2 more road games ahead. But it seems like the young ladies take that challenge of being on the road, because when you're the number 1 team and undefeated in the league, a lot of people, maybe a lot more people come out, maybe a lot more people cheer against you, and it could bowl 2 ways. You could embrace it, or it might affect you.
Right. And I think our team does a really nice job of answering that challenge. I think they like that environment. We've definitely seen where teams are kind of pulling out the stops. They're rolling out their big promotions. The students are coming out. Their athletes are coming out. They've got the bands out there, and it's fun. That's what you want. That's why they do it. That's why they're here is to be able to compete in that collegiate environment. And so when you're whether it's a big crowd at home or a big crowd on the road, that's why we do it.
You're in the middle of the Ohio Valley Conference season. How do you and your coaching staff find time to get out there to recruit as well? Because that's big part, because some of these players will be leaving and you'll have to replace those parts.
Recruiting is a 24/7, 365 job. There's no laying off of it. Actually, we had a meeting today and we were talking about, we've got to go to Tennessee Martin on on Thursday, well, all right, let's see where I can go on Thursday before, after practice, in between travel and meet up with the team. And then after we're done on Friday, have Greg head down to Nashville. And so you try and find every opportunity that you can to squeeze that in. Because it's your lifeline, and regardless of what us as a staff may think that we're able to do, we can't do a darn thing without quality athletes like we have now.
Well, we gave him a hard time, but after subbing for you, but Greg does an excellent job for you.
He does. He's amazing. He's a huge part to our success. Not just in the gym, but in the out on the road recruiting, on the scout. Everything. We wouldn't be as successful as we are if it wasn't for him and our staff.
Volleyball team at UT Martin, 7 o'clock on the 21st, and then they'll be home on October 28th, Eastern Illinois, and then on the 29th against SIU Edwardsville. Jamie, goes by fast. We appreciate you. Jamie Gordon, volleyball coach at Morehead State. We'll have more on this edition of the Eagles Sports Coaches Show. Thank you. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready for the next segment of the Eagle Sports Coaches Show. Next up will be Morehead State rifle coach Walt Ripka. We'd like to remind everybody that the Morehead Hysteria is tomorrow at 7 p.m. over at the AAC. Free admission. We're going to have a men's and women's basketball scrimmage, a dunk contest, and a three-point shooting contest. So come on out to the AAC tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for Morehead Hysteria. Thanks.
Let's go. Welcome back to the Side Street Grill on the campus of Morehead State University for this edition of the Eagles Sports Coaches Show. Morehead's Hysteria will be held tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Johnson Arena. The men's and women's teams will be introduced. They'll have a lot of exciting fun. Once again, that's Morehead Hysteria tomorrow, 7 o'clock at Johnson Arena. Walt Ripka has joined us. Coach,
good to meet you.
Good to see you again. He is a rifle coach and, of course, longtime rifle coach here at Morehead State University. Let's talk a little bit about how you got to Morehead State University.
Oh, I came from Michigan.
Yeah.
It was 20 years ago, 32 years ago. My wife and I were kind of getting burned out in education, and she said, we need to move. We got in the car, we drove 8 hours south, and we stopped here.
Now, they had a rifle team at one time, and the man who was running it brought you in to help him out, I think.
Well, not quite.
Yeah.
At one point, ROTC had a rifle team.
Okay.
And then the military, in their infinite wisdom, decided that we didn't need to teach shooting anymore, so they stopped. And we decided that Hank Patton and I decided that we should try and start a rifle team again.
So Colonel Patton and you started the team, and it's a very disciplined sport, a rifle.
Certainly is.
Now, people at home may not exactly know how a rifle match works, but tell us a little bit about what goes into getting ready for that rifle match.
Well, all of our matches consist of 60 shots of small bore, which is a 22 caliber rifle, and 60 shots of air rifle. And you're trying to hit a 10 that's the size of a period at the end of a sentence. And you have to do that 120 times.
And it takes a lot of discipline, and it's just not a rifle that can go out on the street and get. No. And, you see the pictures from the matches. Of course, it's not a great or maybe not a spectator sport. I've been asked to stand behind some targets before, but I don't know about that. But it really, these young men and women are very disciplined in what they do.
Definitely disciplined. If somebody would like to try this out, We're going to have a rifle fundraiser coming up next month, and we'd like to have everybody come down and try it.
That'd be a great opportunity for, number one, to see the Button range. A lot of people don't realize that you have your own range at Button Auditorium and down in the basement area. Tell us a little bit about how do you recruit. We talked to Jamie Gordon, the volleyball coach, about recruiting. It has to be hard because around Eastern Kentucky, there are not a lot of shooting teams. I know that several years ago when I was helping do some sports information work, you got some people from the Maryland area that they have, I guess, a much larger approach to the rifle sport.
Well, there are several states that still have rifle in schools. Right now I have 3 kids from Pennsylvania that all had shooting in schools, one from Maryland, one from New Jersey, one from New York, believe it or not, one from Virginia, one from Louisiana, one from Wisconsin, 2 from Kentucky. So they're coming from all over. And most of those kids are either a member of a shooting club back home or shooting through their schools. It's been a long time since I've had anybody do JROTC, but JROTC, a lot of those also have shooting programs as part of their school in JROTC.
Now, if someone would be watching this or listening to this on the internet and around the world, if they are interested in coming to Morehead State and might want to try out for the rifle team online, I guess they could just send you an email.
Absolutely.
I know that you're twice the Ohio Valley Conference Rifle Coach of the Year. You've had several rifle athletes go on to national competition, and you had a string of great athletes come in, and not only do your kids do it on the range, you can be very proud they also do it in the classroom.
Oh yeah, we have an excellent GPA. The NCAA recognizes us as one of the top 10% rifle schools for academics. So
it's been, I guess, the rifle schedule's broken down into the fall, and then you get ready, and you come back in the spring semester, and then you have your Ohio Valley Conference tournament, and then the national tournament. But you shoot against some awful big schools.
We shoot against some really big schools. Yeah, the rifle pretty much is. You shoot whoever you can get a match scheduled with, and good luck with that.
Besides the Ohio Valley Conference schools, what schools in our vicinity have rifles programs?
The closest school to us would be UK, and actually we'll be going to UK twice this year, in once in January, once in February. The next closest school would be Ohio State.
So, and I know that each year you go, or they come here to VMI, Virginia right. Military Institute, and that's always on the schedule. And I noticed Columbus State was on the schedule this year, and Rose Holman.
Right.
That seems like that's always on the schedule. So they have pretty good programs as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of reciprocity matches where we go back and forth either on alternate years or every year.
So we got to host the OVC rifle tournament a couple of years ago, maybe three.
Several years ago.
Yeah. And that's a challenge in itself when you have all the teams come in. Then of course you have your sectional after the OVC, and that's for the people who are selected for that, right?
Well, the sectional is basically a national match. All the rifle teams that are NCAA shoot a match on that date at some location, then all those scores are pulled together.
So let's talk about a normal week for your athletes. We have the 20-hour rule for the basketballs, players. So is the rifle range open 20 hours a week? Can they get in there all at the same time, or do they have to stagger with their school schedule?
We're working a lot with their school schedules. Currently, we're doing 2 morning practices on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. I think they're great. Kids kind of balk at them because they got to get out of bed, but it works really well.
Well, you have several younger players on your roster this year. Looks like you have 2 seniors. And anytime you can make it that far in a very difficult sport that rifle is. Tell us a little bit about those.
The seniors?
The seniors.
Well, Katie and Nicole are both, like you said, seniors, one from Michigan, one from Virginia. They will be graduating. They've been excellent students, and they've been good shooters. We're going to miss them, and we've already we brought in several freshmen this year, and the freshmen are stepping right up. We had 2 seniors graduate last year, and a couple of the freshmen have stepped right into that role.
And that's what it's all about, trying to keep a nice mix of, older rifle people and younger, so you don't get hit with 4 or 5 or 6 at a time.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
You talk about the dedication. Besides the schoolwork and the GPA, these young men and women must be really dedicated because it's such a sport that you have to have very strict discipline.
Definitely. It's interesting to see them come in when they've had a bad day, and I basically will send them home because bad practice is not a good thing.
Well, you'll be back in action, it appears, coming up at VMI on October 22nd, and then you go to the Ohio State University. Well, Ohio State will
Ohio
come
State's
here
coming here
on October 29th, and so as we said, you have a lot of your schedule ahead before we break for the fall semester, and then you come back and get ready for the Ohio Valley Conference.
Right. Actually, at VMI, it'll be a triple match because Coast Guard will also be there, so it'll be Coast Guard, VMI, and Moorhead.
Well, Walt, we wish you luck. Thanks for stopping by and trying to explain a little bit more about rifle to everyone, and we appreciate you, and we'll have you back before the Ohio Valley Conference tournament.
Well, I hope everybody can come to our turkey shoot July or November, I think it's 8th, 9th, and 10th. Be ready to compete.
All right, thanks. Walt Ripka, rifle coach at Moorhead State University. We'll come back with more after this. This is the Eagles Sports Coaches Show. He didn't tighten it too good on the back. He kept on slipping.
Let's make sure it's not straight for Brent.
Hey, Coach.
How are you?
Good. Same thing as Walt. Yeah.
Oops.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah. Let's put it on your ear here. There. That gives you a little more stability. And we'll lift that up. How's that? Yeah, it's going to stay.
We'll see if it works.
All right, folks, we're getting started with the next segment of the Eagle Sports Coaches Show. We're going to have Brent Erickson, the Moorhead State cross country and track and field coach. As we transition to the next segment, we ask that everybody please be courteous because we are broadcasting on radio and video. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Eagle Sports Coaches Show from the Side Street Grill on the campus of Moorhead State University. Eagle action around the campus this week. Of course, as we talked to Jamie Gordon about the volleyball team, they'll be traveling to UT Martin on the 21st. That's Friday. The 22nd, of course, part of the homecoming weekend here at Moorhead State University. Moorhead State will host Dayton at a 1 o'clock start. Airtime will be at 12:30 on the Eagles Sports Network. The rifle team also in action as they travel to VMI on Saturday. And then on Sunday and Monday, the women's golf team will be on the road in a tournament. And the soccer team will be at Jane Stadium coming up on Sunday as they host Longwood University. And the volleyball team will be back in action on the 25th of October as they travel to Clarksville to take on Austin Peay. Once again, we'd like to remind everyone listening to the Coaches Show tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Moorhead Hysteria at Johnson Arena. The Eagle men's team and the women's team will be introduced. They'll have some games. A good time will be had by all at Johnson Arena tomorrow night, Wednesday night, at 7 o'clock. Also, a couple other Eagle notes. The men's team is in 7th place after 2 rounds of the FMB Bank Austin Peay State University Intercollegiate. That's down at Hopkinsville, and they'll be finishing that tournament today. So we bring back to the show Rick Erickson, cross-country track and field coach at Morehead State. Now you got your feet a little wetter since our last conversation. How's it been going?
Not too bad. We've had 2 meets since I was here last, and we were at the Louisville Classic, and that was a very good meet for us on the women's side especially. Previously last year they were 30th. This year we were 10th, and so we're making some progress, and we're getting out there and getting it done. And this past weekend we were at Evansville, and each week we're getting better and better. And in 2 weeks we have conference championships, so we're looking forward to that.
You know, as we talked to Walt about how rifle is such a, as they say, individual team sport, cross country and the track and field is the ultimate because, these young men and women have to get out and do their road work every day in the weight room, then running, and then they combine to have the team score at the end of whether how you finish.
Well, each one of them needs to get better, and if everybody gets better, the team gets better, and each one of them has to make sure we're taking care of business, and that's certainly part of it. And it's, we have to have 5 to get this thing done. We can't just have 1 or 2 or whatever, because we've got some good kids, but we have to have a full team.
And as we mentioned, you getting a late start, didn't have a summer to get your conditioning program in. They've probably adapted pretty good because these young men and women are probably in pretty good shape no matter what. But with each coach, it's a different style.
It is, and I think we've asked a lot of them right now. I think we're still even going through a soreness process because it is a higher level that I'm asking from them. We've got a ton of freshmen, and those freshmen have to get used to an 8K race. An 8K is different than high school. It's 2 miles farther. And so you've got to be prepared for that. And if you're not going to finish well. And so we still have some of those issues happening. And so it's a really delicate balance between doing too much and not doing enough and not being prepared for the season. And I think, it's something that next year they're going to be ready for. And we're going to start in June. And they're going to have done my program and been ready for what we want to do. But they're giving everything they have. And that's all we can ask. And that's all we can hope for at this point.
You mentioned the Ohio Valley Conference tournament coming up in a couple of weeks at Richmond at the Arlington Golf Course in near Eastern Kentucky University. And Eastern Kentucky has been the premier program over the last few years with the foreign runners they get in.
They do. They have 13 foreign runners on their men's squad alone, much less the women's squad. And right now they're ranked 17th nationally. It's the highest they've ever been ranked. I think it's the highest an OVC conference school has ever been ranked. So that's the level of competition we're having to deal with, and this is the level of competition we want to be able to not only deal with but beat at some point. And so we have a long way to go to get there, obviously, but the kids are working hard. And on our women's team, we were picked to finish 9th in conference, and we have much higher hopes than that. They're really coming together, and there's some great stuff happening on the women's side especially. They're a little bit farther along than the men, and so we really feel like there's some good things that can happen in a couple of weeks here.
We mentioned to Jamie and we mentioned to Walt, I'll mention to you, while you're in a season, it's so hard to recruit. Tell us a little bit how the recruiting process is for the cross-country / track type coach.
Well, it is, every day you're doing something, and right now we're really identifying. We basically have started local. We've started local for us is Kentucky, and then we're identifying kids that we want to write to in the local states. And then we've gone to a national thing as well. We feel like to compete nationally, you have to recruit nationally, and we feel like we can do that here. And so it's just a beautiful place. We're selling Morehead. We're selling the hills, the trails, the mountains, the lakes. And we're selling the level of competition. We're a Division I school, and we want to attract those level of athletes. And so between the writing and identifying, we're starting to finally get those questionnaires back. So now we're making the phone calls and making sure that we have enough information on all these kids so that it's our selection, not just hoping and wanting and trying to count on one or two, but really a mass level of recruiting. So we'll probably put out close to 2,000 letters this year with all that's going on just the distance side alone. And so you're talking about identifying anybody that we think could possibly help us and then whittling it down to people that we know can help us and who we really want, and then going from there.
I don't think we got to discuss your staff last time we were here. What does that look like?
Well, I have Joe Rath with me, and Joe Rath was my captain my first year when I was at Southern Oregon University. And so he's familiar with this process a little bit and how I do things, and certainly he knows coming into a new program how we have to change things, because I had to change a lot of stuff when I first came, and he was a part of that. He was a part of that process because he was the captain there, and so he understands what happens from an old coach to a new coach, and so he was a big part of that, because at Southern Oregon University, we were picked to finish 4th in conference and ended up 4th in the nation his senior year. And so those are the kind of things we're trying to instill in the kids that we have. And Joe is my right-hand man as far as getting things done. There's just a lot of things that have to happen, and I can't do them alone. And we're talking about places to run for practices because we're not confined to a certain area. We need to have long stretches of areas where we can get these kids out and running and things, and so he's kind of a scout that way, and he's helping write the letters. There's probably nothing that he is not involved with at some level, so he's just a great help.
I think you mentioned a key thing in the fact that he ran for you, the fact that he knows how you want it done, how you want to build this program at Morehead State, not someone coming in that had, maybe your friend, but this has been through the trenches and everything with you.
Well, he has, and he knows my work ethic because he knows we're going to be there till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and so he understands that. He's a young coach that wants to be coaching a long time, so he knows that to get this thing turned around, it's going to take effort, and effort comes from our working, and then it comes from the athletes doing what we want to do and them working hard. So it's been great that way for us because we have known each other for I guess 4 years now, and so he knows my expectations, and that is so much easier than having to retrain somebody, no doubt.
I know you're looking forward to the Ohio Valley Conference men and women's championship at Arlington Golf Course. If you really had to pick out one thing, what would you like to see out of this meet?
Well, we'd like to see us place higher than what we're picked to finish. I think the women were picked to finish 9th. That's not where we want to finish. That's not where I expect them to finish. And so we want to see what can happen there. On the guys' side, we really want to hold position, really, because honestly, we lost our top 5 guys from last year. 4 were seniors. Our 5th guy's redshirting. So we're starting with a whole new program. So if a basketball program lost their top 5 starters, they know it's going to be a rough year the next year probably. And we haven't had that new incoming recruiting class. So just holding position there for us would be a great job, I think. And that's sort of what we're looking for. And we just want to see them keep getting better and better. If we do that, then we can do some of those things along the way.
Brent, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you hopefully after the Ohio Valley Conference tournament. Good luck at the OVC.
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll come back. We'll talk football with Matt Ballard on the Eagles Sports Coaches Show. I wanted you to brag on your assistants. Sometimes they don't get bragged on. Yeah, no trouble. All right. Class, have you got rested? Have you got rested yet? My back still killed me. I had to go. what did we go with that one? 11? Okay, 10:30. So we had 11 with Jamie, 10 with Walt, and basically 11 with him. So give me 14.
Whoop.
14 and 1. No, 13 and 1. You okay?
Good.
All right. Let's see. I don't know.
Duct tape.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You got a new camera. Look at that. There's a little flash there. I saw that. You're going big time, Jeremy. Like the cap, though. The cap. You ready? All right. Welcome back to the Adrian Dorn University Center, Side Street Grill, Eagles Sports Coaches Show. Matt Ballard has joined us now. And have you recovered, Coach? Just want to know.
No, when you get, I'm not 25 anymore, so it takes probably a couple extra days to get that bus ride and plane trip out of you. But give me a couple more days. I'll be all right.
You'll be ready. You go down to Jacksonville and face the all-time leading Pioneer Football League passer, Josh McGregor. And, he I think may be all that we've heard.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think he's the best quarterback to have ever played in the league, but pretty close. Mr. Johnson, that happens to be on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster, I would put him at that top of the list. But this young man's been starting. He started as a true freshman. Got a great offense, got great, very talented folks around him. He's very sharp, throws a great ball, strong arm, mechanically sound, and we knew we were going to have our hands full, absolutely. We did not make it any easier for ourselves. As I said Saturday, and I sit here today and say that we were our own worst enemy. Played very well at times, but we had a few too many busts in our coverage and breakdowns and gave up too many big plays. But we always talk about this. Almost every ball game you can take 4 or 5, half a dozen plays, and if it's not for those or something different happens, it's a completely different outcome. But the thing about it, you can't take any plays out. Every play counts. Every play could be the most important play. But beside that, when you look at the stats and the numbers, and you look at a lot of that football game, you wouldn't think that it was that kind of a score. They were not that much better than us that day. Absolutely. We always give credit where credit is due. They played harder, smarter, more disciplined, more physical. They out-executed us. We made too many breakdowns and mistakes, and when you do that, a good team is going to capitalize on that. But their quarterback pretty sharp. I mean, for a guy to throw 105 touchdowns in his career, I mean, that's insane. It really is.
And about 25 against us over the last 4 years. So
yeah, he's had, I think, 3 of his best days have been against us. So
we're happy that that would be the last
We're going to send him a graduation present. I think we talked about that last time. But, we did some good things. When you watch the film, the old saying is good is good and bad is bad. It's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as what you think it is. Zach, our quarterback, didn't have his best day, but when you looked at a film, it wasn't as bad as what we thought, out there on Saturday. But we had too many protection breakdowns. I think us just being beat up and lack of practice time really caught up with us, especially versus an outstanding opponent versus Jacksonville, where you got Matson at right tackle and Barber at left tackle, only practiced one day, and then Elijah Barnett at our right guard. Didn't practice at all. We weren't able to dress him. We did take him with us. But that type of thing really catches up with you. And then we had some breakdowns with our quarterback and our receivers being on the same page, and we just had too many little mistakes. And you have to play mistake-free football and really execute sharply. And we had some great plays. We did some tremendous things out there. but we didn't have enough of them. We got to have more consistent play by our entire group in order to be able to overcome an opponent like Jacksonville.
You know, it seems like people have found our weakness at times. They've kind of picked on our secondary at times. It's not the lack of effort of those young men, and maybe the lack of execution at times.
Yeah, we've got the youngest, most experienced secondary in the league. Nobody is playing with 3 brand new starters out there, and then a true freshman at the strong safety spot. And like I said, for the most part, great effort, made some tremendous plays, made some of the best plays that we've made all year long. You know, when they come across the middle and Mr. Lee sees it, makes a great break, and probably the best hit of the year. You know, there were a lot of plays like that. But like I said, we had some miscommunication. Guys break down in their assignment, and all of a sudden there's a guy running scot-free up through the middle of the seam, and it doesn't take a very sharp quarterback not to see that. And Gregor saw that and executed it, and just too many. We just gave up too many big plays, too many mistakes, and that will cost you in a ball game like this.
I know it's earlier in the week, as you mentioned, the walking wounded. Several players injured Saturday. Health update. Anybody completely out for Saturday?
Well, Elijah Barnett, our right guard, is still very questionable. We're not sure about him. Everybody else is just banged up and bruised. Zach did get a pretty good shot there on his head. We're not sure what his status is going to be. I was just telling Matt here just a minute ago, Justin Cox, freshman for us, had emergency surgery yesterday morning, had his appendix taken out. Then there was another concern during surgery. He is okay. Parents are with him. He's going to be released either today or tomorrow. He's a young man that's provided some depth in our interior line, but the most important thing, he's been our snapper on our punts and PATs and field goals. So right now, you know, if you can snap and we can get you cleared by the NCAA,
we might get some eligibility.
We might roll you out there and let you snap. So we've got a couple guys waiting in the wings. We're going to have a great week of preparation this week to see who is more consistent. There is always a big difference between your 1, 2, and 3s, and that is a grave concern. I'll be over there with my fingers crossed and toes crossed and holding our breath when it comes punt time and PAT field goal, to hoping not only that it is a good snap, but the other thing is your operating time. And when you have a team like University of Dayton that gives great pressure, that's a big concern, protecting our punter and being able to execute and get off our PATs and field goals.
But you may have one of the best holders around Ronnie McDermott, and the fact that he's done it for several years, and he can get the high snap down, the low snap down, and at least for Rainer's psyche, you have your holder there if somebody can just get him the football.
Absolutely. You know, Ronnie McDermott, I mean, you can't say enough great things about him. He's so versatile. You know, I think the guy could play anywhere on the field for us if you asked him to. If I asked him, hey, Ronnie, would you play defensive tackle? Could you snap? Sure, Coach. and would probably do a pretty good job. But that is the great thing, is you have two very experienced guys there. Ronnie can catch a ball with his eyes closed or in the dark, has best hands on the team. That's why he's at that spot. So, you know, with those two guys' experience, at least that helps you going in. But the main thing is just operation time. And, you know, we got to get at least pretty close to what we have been. For not, then it's a concern with guys rushing in and getting a deflection or a block on you.
In this PFL, you go from one rival to the next. Dayton on the road and making that trip back. Some players came back Saturday. Some players came back Sunday. Then you got your meetings, and they have to go to class, and they have to get back. And then you got Big Back Dayton coming to town for homecoming. First of all, I know homecoming is probably the most special date for you because that's when we see all those ex-players on the sidelines.
Absolutely. I just think it's the greatest weekend of each year for our entire university. There's nothing like homecoming. It's, to get the Morehead State family, community, and the folks that come back. I mean, it's just an extremely, extremely special time. For our players, there's nothing they look forward to any more than this because, they read and see pictures and hear stories of past players and, that type of thing, and then they're excited about those guys coming back. We got word here the other day that David Highland, that was released from the Hamilton Tiger Cats up in the Canadian Football League. He's coming in on Friday, and word is spread like wildfire. Our guys are looking forward to be able to see him and meet him for the first time. And guys always want, when you got former players coming back, when you have family, and it's your homecoming, not only are you excited, but you know what? You always want to play your best. You'll give everything you got, and there's a pride factor. And then I think the thing that really makes it neat, that adds to the flavor of the weekend is, you have the University of Dayton coming in where it's your rival, and the guys are excited about that. You're going to have a great team, very disciplined, great effort. It's going to be very well played. So our guys are very excited about it, and that helps you in your preparation. We got to get some guys healed up. We got to get some more practice time. We got to eliminate some mental mistakes, especially in the secondary. And then with our skill guys in the passing game, hopefully we'll be a little sharper, be able to run the ball a little more effective, and find a way to pull this one out.
And it's a case that this season's not over with. We can have a very good season, if we play like we can the rest of the year.
Absolutely. University of Dayton, as good as a football team as they are, they have 2 conference losses. But you know what? Anytime Dayton and us get together, throw the records out, throw everything out. Let's go play behind the stadium, out in the parking lot. It doesn't matter. It's going to be hard fought. It's going to be well played. It's going to be extremely competitive, and it is truly a 60-minute ball game. You cannot win 59 and a half minutes versus Dayton. They'll find a way. They'll return a punt. They'll block a punt. They'll make a big play. They'll do something to get in the end zone. They just have a way of responding, making plays, and finding a way to pull out ball games. So we got to play great team defense. We got to be very, very sound special teams. I think that's the most important thing Saturday because that's where Dayton is at their best. And then we just have to have great balance offensively and high percentage, and we got to change up the launch point that Zach is offensively. And if we do that, we have to put together a complete game. We do that, we believe we got a shot.
Is it important, as we always talk about, to get that running game started early?
Absolutely. And, Cox, Desmond, that we call Juice, he had a great game versus University of Dayton last year in the screen game and in the run game. And we really need his production and for him to be effective. But we have to have balance in that. And we have to have nice balance to keep them off balance with what we're doing. It's got to be – we truly have to get in the full flow of our offense. It can't just be short, quick, and passing game. It's got to be play action. We got to move the pocket. We got to be effective in our screen game, be able to run the ball inside, outside. You have to make Dayton – defend that entire field and your 5 guys that can potentially get that football through the pass or the run.
And, of course, Dayton will bring a nice crowd. We'll have a huge crowd. And it seems like the home games this year that we've had a nice crowd. We've kind of answered the bell.
It's going to be a perfect fall day. Going to be a little cooler. Great atmosphere for a ball game. Yeah, Dayton always brings a great crowd for them. So should be a tremendous atmosphere, should be an outstanding football game.
1 o'clock kickoff here at Jane Stadium, 12:30 airtime on the ESN. Matt, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jason.
I'd like to remind you the MSU Homecoming Parade Thursday in downtown Moorhead. Also a lot of activities set for Friday football game and a lot of events happening on Saturday. Of course, come on out to Moorhead State's homecoming starting on Thursday with the homecoming parade. Also tomorrow night, Moorhead Hysteria, 7 o'clock at Johnson Arena. That's going to do it for this edition of the Eagle Sports Coaches Show. Until next week, so long, everybody. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, man.